mean, I hear and I hear people talk, and it's out in the public domain about these ESG funds that go out there and things like that. Have you come across those guys? I mean, it takes time for people to understand concepts, and I think there's a bit of a shell shock period between when interest rates are rising up like no tomorrow, and we're talking about, hey, maybe we're quite there. Are you hearing about these kind of people who are now looking at alternative, like what you've just been describing?
Yeah, there are, and lots of funding in that area, and again, having had a lot of conversations, I think the funding's probably bigger than even I anticipated, and really look like really strict criteria about what they do and don't invest in. And when you look at what we're trying to achieve, we actually tick a lot of those boxes. But again, we don't want to go out there crowing about it, because it becomes a bit of I think it becomes a rod for your back. Like we just go out there and try and create a commercial venture that seems logical within the realms and controls and the outside environment, if you like, of government and the public, the community. There's guidelines and rules and regulations about all that, and you just try and comply with it. But ultimately, you're not doing it for nothing. You're doing it to achieve a commercial outcome for shareholders, for banks, for the community in terms of royalties. And in our minds, if the technology's right, if the innovation's right, and it works, then it'll be commercially more viable anyway. So why pump ourselves up about how good a citizen we are? If it's the right thing to do and it's commercially viable, it'll happen anyway. And really, that's like when you look at Nifty, that's really where it's ended up. We didn't go out into Nifty to produce copper metal plate and use gas power and all those sorts of things and think about PV and batteries and all that. We didn't go and do that because it makes us look good socially. We did it because it was commercially viable, and it turns out that it meets the other criteria. So, nobody goes into business to lose money, and if you do, then you're not in business very long. So ultimately, we've got to get back to the practicalities of just do it. Well, why don't we just do it? So that's all we've done. And as I say, like in conversations with investors, when I talk to them like this, they say, "Oh, this is good. You should put some information out there about it." And I sort of say, "Well, we don't really want to, because we just feel that we,
grandstanding.
Yeah, tall poppy, and you get cut down, and green scaffolding and all that sort of stuff."
Yeah.
But in this presentation we've just put out, we've put a few slides on that because we've worked out that there are investors out there that want to tick those boxes, which is fine. So there's the information for you can tick those boxes, but don't expect me to stand up and talk about it for 2 hours, because I'm not going to.
Because what you're saying is the practical aspects of what you guys are doing ticks that box anyway. So it's kind of everyday movement, right? It's supposed to. I think that's important. In a lot of times, the new kind of way of doing it takes a bit slower. I think the whole electrification took a while before momentum kicked in and onto the first lot of electrical vehicles started appearing. Then people started jumping on and adopting it, right? Because it's not new. Because when I guess in Nifty, and it was a new approach, and I think that's where a lot of people sort of sat back and go, "Hang on, Nifty had a big history of doing it this way. They didn't do it. The new boys came in with this thing and then saying, oh, we don't need to do all that. We can actually make money from doing this." I think that's where the pushback may have come from. Is that a fair narrative?
Yeah, sort of, except for I don't think the market realises that it was the original way that it was done. Because it's not new. The heap leach SX and AW was the original way it was done, and it was very profitable. So all we've gone back to is the original way it was done. We finance a project, we get the project running, and then we look at alternative ways to do it down the track, not up front, because the original way it was done worked, and we've improved it, and we'll improve it even more, and it'll be much more robust in operation because of the improvements that we can bring to it. But then down the track, when we don't have to have finance and all those sorts of things, we'll actually try and do some innovative things. Because as I said to you, the innovation won't get financed. You know, if I threw a 30-year life of mine plan with innovation in it forward to finance the moment, it won't get financed. You're kidding yourself if you think it will, because there are not risk takers out there in the market who will finance projects like that. They're not there.